Even though it's a holiday on Thanksgiving, State Senator Roger Victory, Republican from Hudsonville, who is always on this time every week when he's available, joins us right now. Well, happy holidays to you, and thank you for joining us, Senator. How are we doing today?
Well, we're doing well. Actually, typically we'd be having morning church services on Thanksgiving, but because of COVID, we've elected not to have that. So that kind of freed my schedule up today, and we can join you on the radio.
Well, we appreciate it. I know that the legislature was on a hunting break and all. Where do things stand? When do you guys get back in the session again?
We'll be beginning next week, and so we start session again next week as we gather back in Lansing. And there's a number of issues. A lot of the issues we'll be taking up, trying to get done before the end of session, is COVID-related bills. So anything with a timing relation to COVID, some aspects that need things to get codified in the law after the court ruling on executive orders. So a lot of housekeeping on that area. And then also we have continued the election review oversight committee. So that's going to be robust discussions going forward, and that's been in the media quite intensively, and more work to be done. And we will be vetting that through with a very thorough process. And regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, we want to make sure that both sides, that the security of the vote will be there for future generations.
I got to ask you, last week, Governor Whitmer had a press conference, and one thing she implored on the legislature was extending benefits for those unemployed. I guess they run out the 31st, and also asking for Congress for more federal help. Where do things stand on that front?
Yeah, so the key is the funding on that component. So we're keeping eyes on Washington, D.C., seeing what their determination will be on that, because also to extend those dollars, where are those dollars going to be generated from? So we have our pool that in Michigan. I'm an employer. All businesses pay an assessment. I should say majority of those who are liable pay into the system, but those are limited dollars, and then we go into a deficit possibility too on that. And that occurred during the Great Recession in Michigan, and that puts additional liability on that fund. And then earlier on, we had CARES Act dollars that assisted in there. The dilemma we do have is, latest report of audit, that $1.5 billion of fraud. I mean, not million, but $1.5 billion of fraud from the latest audit just in Michigan of unemployment benefits handed out to those who had not been eligible for that. So there's, as we talk about unemployment, we talk about extending it, but also we need to be diligent for those dollars that came in to the system and are being distributed out, that fraud's not being conducted. And also, our office is working for some folks that go back to April that legitimately need these benefits, qualified for these benefits, and some are single mothers with children at home and have not received a dime. So all over the gamut, as we talk about the unemployment system, that's another area that we'll be seeing a lot of scrutiny and a lot of review and continue to work on.
Is anything getting better on that front? I mean, I know they got overwhelmed early, and maybe that's understandable. Yeah. I mean, with everybody at once and everything. But I mean, they've had several months to work this out. Has it gotten any better?
Yes. Additional. At one point in time, I understand there was like 300 people just handling the claims, and they were overwhelmed. If you look at the statistical numbers coming in, going out, but the reaction time, I hold the administration accountable to. It took too long of a period of time to get reacting to this here, and that's where this fraud and some other areas fell through the cracks. And that's that's not a crack. That's a canyon when you have $1.5 billion of fraud being committed. So more people are employed in the sorry the pun, but yeah, they have increased their employment, and the unemployment agency are getting these things through. But the problem is some of these claims that still haven't been met, they got flagged because probably somebody committed fraud on that person's name, and that's why they're being held off. So you have to have a specific set of eyeballs to approve those claims, and that just takes time. There's not a computer program that can get that process through. So long-winded answer to the system is getting moved forward. Michigan is not the only state that had issues, but any agency that had $1.5 billion of fraud claims sent out needs to be having some review. And that's why it's on the radar screen.
State Senator Roger Victory, Republican from Hudsonville, always good enough to join us on this morning's at 8:45. Republican from Hudsonville, represents Ottawa County. Governor Whitmer has said and asked several times to have bipartisan agreement on a mask mandate where both sides have come together and said we really want everyone to wear masks. And then Representative Tommy Brand from Wyoming, a Republican, he and a doctor have come out and said that this week as well. Where do Republicans stand on that?
Well, Representative Tommy Brand is a restaurant owner, and then I've seen that he came out on that area. I did a public service announcement with the Holland Hospital, and just encouraging people to. I always say it's up to you as an individual can make the best area when it comes to COVID. There's been so many. We go back to March and those areas. I'm a firm believer in wearing a mask. In our business, we have you come to our facility, you are in the office, you're in the production area, you will be wearing a mask. Those are it's a basic form of a front line of prevention on it. What I get into issue is trying to be so prescriptive to the 24-hour, 7 days a week of when to wear the mask, not to wear the mask. I believe in the empowerment of the individual to give them the information, inform the information. That's why I did a public service announcement of the Holland Hospital, encouraging all the good folks of Ottawa County as when we get if you're out and about on Thanksgiving Day, be smart. If possible, we'll keep the numbers limited. Wear a mask wherever possible. Just using those basic 101 common sense aspects. But the ultimate power lies within the individual to make the difference. You cannot rely on a governor. You cannot rely on a senator to micromanage every day, every minute of your life.
Of course, you own Victory Farms, and you're big into agriculture, and you're on some farm committees and everything. What's the latest on that front?
Well, I just want to, being a day of Thanksgiving, and I got to give some thanks to some good stuff that's happening in Ottawa County, and it's called the Farmland Preservation. We have some hardworking people, even at the county level, that will generate some funds that are generated. I don't want to get caught. We could do a whole show on this whole aspects of farmland preservation, how some of these dollars are generated at the private sector, and there's a few state dollars through PA 116 that can generate through this. But we're celebrating a purchase of development rights for another farm in Chester Township, and that is, I call people not familiar with Chester Township, that's the chimney of Ottawa County, that township that gets carved out of Muskegon. And so there's some additional farmland that will forever be into farm use. And as other areas have seen with rapid growth, and Ottawa County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state, we're making sure that we will have active farm going in future generations, which is so critical in keeping our historical contexts in place and also keeping a viable business opportunity going forward to future generations. So a big shout out to all those who work on farmland preservations, and a great success story in Ottawa County, and we give thanks for that on the day of Thanksgiving.
You know, the Pilgrims celebrated their first year of surviving in the new land back in 1621, and they gave thanks for a bountiful harvest, that they had food to eat. And I think when you look at your dinner table tonight, there's probably a number of things that you're eating that probably come from the state of Michigan or have their hands on it some way, somehow.
We are so blessed in the state of Michigan. You can tell by the tone of my voice, you really hit a hot subject matter here, and that is something I think we take for granted. So, again, as our families do gather, and some may be on a more limited basis, take note of the bounty that we have right here in the state of Michigan, the diversity of it, and along right here in Ottawa County. We previously talked about all the turkeys that are produced here in our area, but also the fruits and vegetables, apples, pumpkins. We go right down to the squash. In fact, I was in Myers last night and seeing some of the stuff that even came from our farm that was on the store shelf there, and just making sure that was looking up to par, and even right down to things like leek. A lot of listeners even know what leek are, but that's something that comes right here from Ottawa County and something that we even grow. So things like celery root, things of parsnips, turnips, beets, and the list goes on, even the rutabaga. So all can be generated right here in Ottawa County.
So you go to the store, you check out your own stuff to make sure it looks good, right?
You got it, because that's the final display. It might leave the farm looking good, but if it's not looking good on the store shelf, the consumer probably won't be buying it. It gives you good joy and pleasure when you see it and looking in top-notch shape.
I'll bet. Before we let you go, Senator, I've been asking everybody this. Any Thanksgiving Day message, anything you want to pass along to everybody?
As we gather today with our families, ultimately we realize what we're giving thanks for. It's an opportunity for our families to be gathered. Again, I kind of miss that we are not gathering with our congregations, our church this morning, but we've keeping each member in our prayers, like keep all the residents of Ottawa County in our minds at this point in time. So as we approach the holiday seasons too, let's remember the vaccine's close on hand, and just play it safe so we can be together a year from now in probably more upbeat mode. Hopefully see you and everyone out there within another year. Make sure to say to your family members and show the care and respect to them and say, hey, I think a good question is to ask everyone out there, how are you doing? I think that's a question we need to be asking each people, our members, our families, because at this time, I think that is a good question to ask because some people, it's been stressful. So give thanks. How are you doing? And give thanks.
State Senator Roger Victory, Republican from Hudsonville, represents Ottawa County, good enough to come on with us today. We sure do appreciate it. I want to wish you and your family a very happy, a very safe, very blessed Thanksgiving. And thank you for always coming on and updating us from Lansing and telling us what's going on down in Hudsonville, okay?
Same to you, and may you have a blessed Thanksgiving with your family, too, and appreciate all the work that you do in the community on the radio station here. It's always a joyful experience.
Well, thank you very much, Senator. You have a great day, my friend.
Certainly will. Thank you much.
Okay. That's State Senator Roger Victory, good enough to join us.